we want to use media once people are in church, and we're talking more specifically towards the Christian community, people who are already saved. And in Colossians 1:9-11, it talks about how we are to, that prayer that we are to grow in the knowledge and wisdom of God, and to live our life in a way that bears fruit. How do we want to use media? The music, the videos, the things that we bring into from the culture, because music, we bring the style, like, the upbeat, and we're going to use YouTube, and we're going to use the PowerPoints, we're going to use those, but we want to use them in a way that goes with this Colossians chapter 1:9-11. So how can we do that?
Well, I think one of the more powerful things I've seen in this media-driven generation is, our old church would have a missions conference once a year, and these missionaries would come in. Our kids grew up hearing them every year. And Superman had nothing on Dirkwood. When we knew Dirkwood was coming to town, our kids were pumped. And as media started advancing, they didn't have to wait that once a year. They could do Skype streaming in the middle of our service, and the missionary could speak directly to us in real time. And our kids were fascinated by that, to sit here in a Texas church talking in real time to their childhood hero missionary in South Africa. And it crosses time boundaries. It makes the world a much smaller place and accessible. And so not having to wait once a year or to wait for a newsletter to come in the mail, we can now go to these missionaries, their Facebook pages. They have live videos that can stream into. It's just amazing. Is that it really removes the walls, it removes the boundaries, it removes time and space, so to speak, because you can sit down at a computer here and a computer there, and you can broadcast it, and it's phenomenal.
People who don't use technology don't always. I see people criticize that. Oh, my kids just text. Why don't they talk to each other? Well, people have talked to each other for years and never spoken. But I see kids text things to each other that are so personal because they somehow feel connected. The fact that people get on Facebook and they say some of the things they say on Facebook, they're a lot more open than they would ever be with a person in public. We went to a youth meeting, and I forgot what church it was called. It was Sky's husband's church. The youth meeting where the kids were allowed to anonymously text their questions. And the stuff that they texted to have answered, they would never have stood up and said. And I applauded that church because it was like, okay, you can come here and you can text us questions and we will address them, and they won't know it's you.
And of course they screened them first.
Yeah, they screened them first. Some of the ones they put up there were still pretty, but those kids wouldn't have sent those texts to you. They wouldn't have stood up in a youth group and said, I have a problem here. This was a chance for them.
Yeah, I remember one of them, as a therapist, it's just like, whoa. And one of the questions that came through is, I see bruises on my best friend. How do I get her help? And I'm like, yeah, that person was not going to stand up and say, hey, because everybody knows who her best friend is. And nobody can really call CPS because we don't know who it came from. But there was a moment where you can say, I don't care who sent that message, this is for everybody. If you have a suspicion that somebody is being hurt, here's a hotline number, here's a... And I guarantee you she wasn't the only one in the room that had seen something like that happen just based on statistics. So
Text messages, being anonymous and all that, it connects where they can go to church, which is a safe place, and they can apply what they are learning at church, the love of Christ, to a difficult situation in real life. Because we don't talk about in the sermon, okay, if you have we don't talk about this.
That kind of stuff doesn't get
It
addressed.
doesn't come up in the sermon.
And that's kind of like, to me, media is a tool. You always hear that media is a tool. The problem has come is that sometimes we as a church, or we as believers, use that tool and go, media is a tool, so now let's build the same house everybody else is building. But because we're using the same tool, doesn't mean we have to build the same way. We don't have to make everything that we build look like every other house in the block. And one of the things I liked about that youth pastor doing that, it was like, you know what, I have this tool. But instead of telling everybody, hey, text me your shout outs, like you've probably seen at 10,000 youth events, he went, how can I use this tool in a way that'll speak to these kids? And came up with something amazing. I don't have any problem with us using technology as a tool,
Right.
but let's build something that's better than what they're telling us we can use it for. You know, let's take this hammer and not build the same little house church with the same little musical instruments, the same setting that our services are cookie cutters of what works. Let's do something like that. I've never seen that before. And I guarantee that's one of those things that I try to tell other youth pastors about because it was so powerful and it was so well done. And let's do that. Let's take this tool and build something different. And that's what we need more than anything. It's people with creativity. And that used to be the